Today we are joined by Aoife Brennan, who is a single mum who lives here in Warwick, and she's got a 6-year-old son. Hi Aoife, lovely to meet you. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So tell us a bit about your journey with single parenthood. How long have you been a single parent? And tell us a bit about your lovely son.
I'll start with my son, only because that's the shorter story. He is 6 years old. I have been a single parent since I had him, but struggled with dating before that as well. It's just a minefield, isn't it? But yes, so my son and his father, we weren't together, and when I fell pregnant, he decided he didn't want to be involved at all. So I just kind of carried on and have done everything myself. I'm really grateful I have the support of my parents who live close by. But yeah, it's been a struggle to date as a mum.
Yeah.
Definitely.
No, I can imagine. And did you at any point think about, having the child or not having the child? Or were you certain you wanted to be a mum and kind of said, I can do this on my own?
I kind of somehow always knew my life would end up like this. I don't know what it is, a witchy sense or something. But when I found out I was pregnant, I was already 16 weeks along.
Wow.
So I was really late to find it out. I was living in France at the time, who have very strict laws on pregnancy termination and things like that.
Right.
I got a lot of judgy looks from doctors when I came into a doctor's office, and they were like, where's the boyfriend, where's the partner? And I was like, oh, there isn't one.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, they were really disappointed with that. But I mean, once I kind of come to terms with it, and we had the first scan at 18 weeks and things like that, and I found out his gender, it was really one of those things where if I was 16, I might question this, but I'm 26 now, I'm an adult, I'm grown up, these are the decisions I've made in my life, and these are the consequences, and life will go on. So.
And probably the best decision you've ever made.
Yeah.
Did you have him in France or did you have him in the UK?
No, I moved back to the UK, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me a bit about, you said dating was a struggle even before you had him.
Oh, yes. I mean, I don't know what it is. I'm going to say I don't know what it is about me, and I don't think it is about me.
I don't think it's about you. It's the men.
Yeah.
It's always the men.
It is. I had a long-term relationship in my early 20s at university, first ever boyfriend, with him for 4 years, and then he really wanted to do that kind of buy a house, settle down thing. And I was like, oh, but we're still too young. Why don't we go and live abroad for a year or do anything? And he was just so always finding excuses to not do it. And I thought, you know what, we want really different things in life. I don't think this is going to work. I think let's call it time. So I did that, and I was completely right. Within 6 months, he'd bought a house with another girl.
Oh, wow. That's what he really wanted to do.
Yeah, and that didn't last for him either. But I went on and I moved to France and started working on the yachts and things. And I mean, there you're so young and your life is so mobile and you're carefree and you've got a great wage that you don't really look to settle down. You want to play the field, you want to go out and you want to meet men in exotic lands.
Exactly.
And, yeah.
So you must have had a lot of fun experiences in France then. How did you meet people?
Dating apps, either in the nightclubs or on the dating apps, yeah.
And what dating apps have you had success with while you were out there?
I used Tinder a lot. I'm going to regret saying this, I know, but I ended up getting the nickname Tinderella on one of my boats.
Aoife.
I know.
Brilliant.
Love that. Tinderella.
Yeah. Just because it was fun.
Yeah.
I don't know, it was just a lot of fun.
And then once you've had your son, when did you feel you were kind of ready to go back out there again and explore dating?
Was difficult. That was difficult because I think there was all the pregnancy and you kind of get your head around it, and then the reality of it is just so much more different.
And no one prepares you for it.
No, not at all, and it's so much more intense. So I was feeling really lost and really confused and kind of almost desperate to claw back some of my previous life. That he was, a few months old, and I downloaded the apps again, being like, oh, I need to meet someone, I need to feel like me again. And that was a terrible idea in retrospect.
So with a child, how did you kind of openly state on the dating apps that you've got a son, or did you kind of leave that for a second or third date?
No, I put it out there just because think if you walk into something, if you were to meet someone that you had a connection with, I think, you know, having a kid is such a deal breaker on some of those things.
Exactly.
That there's no really getting around it. You know, he is the biggest thing in my life, and how can you hide that, really?
And you know, with Playdate, which I founded about a couple of years ago now, it's our second birthday this week, which is really exciting. Thank you. And the whole point of that was really, as a single mum, I had the same struggles as well of meeting people. And I found that once you say you've got kids, people tend to kind of shy away from that. Oh, that's, you know, too much commitment, or, you know, there's baggage. They see that as baggage, where actually I wanted to create a space where having children is almost an asset. Actually, they're more attracted to you more because you've got children.
Yeah.
Do you feel that having a community of single parents or meeting other single dads would help you a little bit with the connection, would help with the understanding of being a parent?
I think it's the understanding aspect, you know. Even more for me, I downloaded some apps just a couple of weeks ago because I was feeling envious of my friends. We were all sat having dinner and a glass of wine. I was like, oh, I'll just do it for fun. And that's when I had downloaded Playdate as well. And just everyone I've met again on there, I mean, I've deleted it again since, not Playdate, but the other one. It was just like they just don't understand that actually my life contains this other human that I have to put the priority in. They were like, well, how are you going to make time for a relationship? And I was like, you just have to make time around me.
Exactly.
Like, that is it. And people that say they are open to you having children on dating apps, they don't understand the reality of it at all. They don't understand that you will always be second or third on the list, because it's my kid, my children, depending on how many those are, then me, because I have to stay sane for them, and then it's going to be you. And that's really difficult, I think, to get across to
And
people.
unless they've got kids, they'll never have that understanding.
No, yeah, completely.
So I found also with dating, other mainstream dating apps, that people tend to think you can be spontaneous. So, oh, what are you doing tomorrow night? Or, you know, let's go to Paris for the weekend.
Yes.
It's like, I've got to sort childcare, you know, my son's got a birthday party, like this can't happen.
Yeah.
And I think there's also that kind of time constraint of actually you need to plan ahead.
Yeah.
And you said you've got family around and to help you, but I've got no one, so I literally have to pay a babysitter.
Oh, well, yeah.
And it's expensive, right? So you really want to make it worth your time to go on a date.
Yeah.
You don't want to end up, you know, telling someone you've got kids and they ghost you and never call you back again.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, and any interesting date stories that you'd like to share with us? What's been your best dating experience? Let's do best and worst.
Oh, I don't know if I've had a best.
Best of the worst.
The best of the worst was probably I went on a date with a lovely guy, and I ended up not continuing it only because I just felt like he lived quite far away and I wasn't as into it as I hoped. But he was really genuinely lovely, and he was going through a divorce but didn't have children. We went on I'd really wanted to do one of those escape rooms. I was like, oh,
I did that for my son's 10th birthday party last month, and it was so much fun. I got really into it, and they were like, can we do it now, please? I was like, ended up doing, I'm like, no, you got to do this, you have to do that. I was controlling it, and they're like, Mom, stay out of it. It's my party. But yeah, it's so much fun, actually. That's such a good idea.
Well, it ended up being a terrible first date idea, only because I realised afterwards that you should probably figure out how you guys work, what your strengths and qualities, you know, is one of you good at maths and one of you good at logic? And we both sat in there like, we don't know what we're doing.
But you know, I found that you can really tell someone's character from the escape room, because you know who's the problem solver, who gives up really quickly, who stresses under pressure. And I thought it was really interesting, because in an escape room dynamic, you can kind of see some qualities in someone that you wouldn't see on a night out for dinner or for drinks.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, he wasn't very good at maths, and neither am I, so it was kind of game over from there.
Okay, and one of the things that's really important for us as Playdate, just because mums and dads put themselves out there with kids, is being safe online. And there's so many red flags. So we've done this blog before where we've kind of said, 10 tips of staying safe online. And we've asked our users to share what their red flags are. And I think it's so important, because you've put your children out there, that you're safe. So what for you would be kind of the red flags that would make you think, okay, no, I can't see this person, or that doesn't sound right?
I can get really judgy when it comes to men and understanding how the previous relationship ended and how they've treated their kids since then. Because that, for me, is just the biggest telltale sign on whether they are going to be a genuine partner or not. You know,
True.
if there was I don't know, infidelity or just poor communication, or they didn't put the effort in or anything like that, then why, I don't think you're going to change for me. And if you then decided to not see your kids for 2 years and then suddenly you want to come back into their life, I'm like, well, you are obviously not a consistent person and you do not genuinely have these children's well-being at the forefront of your mind. So those things for me, it's, you know, understanding why they're in the position they're in now.
Sure, and but don't you think that's also the other way around as well? Don't you think it's fair for them to also be judgy on us as well, because we're single parents for a reason?
That's true, yeah. I mean, obviously judgment can go both ways, but I think there's this kind of process that when you're a mother, you're almost never not a mother, whereas a man can walk away and suddenly not be a father.
True.
So, you know, you're coming and meeting single mums. Well, yes, we come with everything that comes with that. We can't, you know, the relationship might have broke down, but we're still here for our children. We're still getting them fed and dressed every day. We're still putting a roof over their heads, feeding them, getting to school, doing the homework, going to the swimming classes. Like, we couldn't just walk away from that.
True.
So
for you, it's really important for your next partner to be very involved and have an active role in his children's life. Is that what you'd be looking for?
Yeah, I think it's really important. Yeah.
Okay. And how do you juggle? You work, right?
I do, yeah.
How do you juggle that with childcare, and do you have someone looking after your son, or how do you manage that?
I am extremely lucky that I work in a very flexible role where I can, as long as I get the work done, I can do it from wherever I need to do it, and you know, work around different hours and stuff. I also have my parents living close by, so I rely on them to do the occasional thing. They have the fancy membership to the fancy sports club gym spa thing, so they do all the swimming lessons and kid activities there.
Great.
And
so you can dump him there when you've got a date then.
Yeah.
Mum and Dad, I've got a date.
Well, it's one of those things. I'm like, oh, well, I don't really want my mum to know I'm dating or going out on dates, because then that starts opens a whole other box of problems. So I do use a babysitter quite a lot, and it's just so expensive.
So expensive. It's really expensive.
You spend twice as much on a date.
So true.
I've got a question, Nevine. Going back on to what you were saying then, Aoife, about typically the man are the ones that can just basically just jog on. Yeah, they've left the relationship. Oh, I'm not a dad anymore. Surely that's changing now. Like, I'm not a single parent, so I take my daughter to swimming lessons. I'll have her for the weekend. Surely that's normal, no?
Should be. But it's not, I mean, in my experience, no, I don't have, I mean, my son's dad is not involved in that way at all. If he could choose not to see him, he probably wouldn't. So I think, yes, I do see a lot of dads, and it makes my heart, you know, full of joy when I see dads taking the kids out. It's like, oh, wouldn't that be nice, kind of thing. Yeah. But it's slowly becoming, I think there's more and more men. There are some great dads out there, but it's not really, I think, I come from a culture, for example, where divorce is kind of really quite taboo, and because I made the decision to leave the relationship, it's almost kind of a punishment of not helping me with our son. So it kind of becomes a battle of, okay, let's see how you get on your own then, you know, and they don't really think about the well-being of the child or creating a bond with the child, and it's quite sad. But that's not, I won't speak for everyone, but that's been my experience.
Yeah, because you mentioned they're like a great dad, but that's just
should be normal.
Parent, isn't it?
That should be normal.
Like,
you would think so. You would think
that's
so.
how low our standards are, James. Yeah. That is how low it's gone.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And I guess for you, Aoife, because he's never had a pet, two parents. He's only just had you. I guess you've not experienced having it and then it being taken away.
Yeah,
and I think that's probably a positive thing, because he's grown up into that setting and that setup, so it's not like he hasn't experienced any loss in a way. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
have you started to ask you questions about, do I have a dad?
Did a few months ago. He started to ask some questions, so I kind of tiptoed around that, saying, "Oh, there is someone, but they decided they couldn't be a daddy, and that wasn't the life they were ready for." So, we're doing it together, and you just try and tiptoe around it like that. But yeah, the standards are really low for men. And I mean, I'm on a Facebook mums group, and every day there's another post about a lazy husband, doesn't do anything. You've talked to them, still haven't changed their ways. You've been living like this for 5 to 10 years, and now you want out of the relationship because they're not actually a partner in anything. You've just got another child to look after.
So playing devil's advocate then, as a male.
We get we get that you're super dad, James.
No, because I just think but you said then about that they were moaning about they weren't doing anything. What do you, as single parents or just parents, expect then from the male or the dad? What do you expect?
You go.
Oh.
It's going to turn into a very feminist discussion now.
Yeah, it will do in a minute. Yeah. You want someone that's going to kind of step up to the plate. Like, it's that mental load of the home, it's the mental load of looking after the children. You know, I don't want to have to, like, if I realise at 11 o'clock at night I've not put the school uniform on, it'd be really great if you'd realised that at 11 o'clock in the morning and done it for me. That type of thing. If there's a swimming lesson and you go, oh, I'll take the kids because I know you've done 3 other sports activities, swimming's going to be my lesson that I spend time with them. Really nice. Doesn't happen. Like,
yeah, I remember before I got divorced, so I used to travel a lot for work, and I remember this one, probably the first time I travelled and left him. He was at the time, I think, 2 terrible 2s, and I was away for literally 3 days, 2 nights, 3 days. He was calling me non-stop. What do I do? Where do I put this? How do you have time? How do you even do this? I have no time to eat. I have no time to sleep. He called me on FaceTime. He was a mess. The house was a mess, and he's like, I think at that point he appreciated all of the things that mums have to do if he's not, helping out. He's like, I don't know how you do it. And that was the first time he admitted, like, okay, I don't know how you manage to do all of this. So I think unless they're forced into that, okay, I'm out for the day, food's in the, you've got to sort yourself with food. They're his bottles, and it's kind of like you have to throw them into it. But most dads don't, I think, understand how much there's like multitasking going on when you've got a child as a mum.
Yeah.
So it's quite a lot.
That's true, yeah. And it's that kind of that they want to be involved as well. I think there's a, yes, you've shown him. Did he revert back to his old ways instantly when you came home?
Instantly.
Yeah, and then where is the want to take some of the load as well? Where is your want to be an equal partner in this? You had equal fun in making them. Now we have to equally take the fun in caring for them, and yeah, I just think there's a lack of understanding.
Yeah, and it's also, I think, societal as well. So I come from a Middle Eastern background, and my mum's been brought up that way as well. And in our households, it's very much man is the breadwinner, woman takes care of the kids, and woman has to always look nice for the man. She's almost like a servant to the man, and that's kind of really. And my mum, and when I got divorced, my mum rang me up, and she was like, "It must have been your fault. Like, you need to, you work like a man, you dress like a man." I'm like, "Mum, he was a very abusive person. That's." So, but I think it's also societal where it's, oh, the man's really tired. He's been working all day, making the money, and you've got to kind of make sure that his life is smooth and easy at home, which is not the modern world we live in at all. No. So, yeah, I think I've diverted from your question there a bit.
Well, we're not, because I lived in Turkey for a couple of years, and it's the same there. It was very much, man was the breadwinner, and it was quite interesting because the family I lived with, the daughter was just turning 18. She was all 18, 19, and obviously, Turkey's come a long way than it was, and you could sort of see that change, and the dad was like, I don't like this whatsoever. You could see very quickly the change.
In an ideal world, yes, James, I think men should be more involved and want to be more involved, and not forced into being more involved, which is sadly sometimes the case as a single parent, especially if you've got, child arrangement orders in place where, he's got to take him on certain weekends. Because I think it's really important for kids to have a routine as well. So I struggled with that a lot at the beginning, where he wouldn't he's a doctor, so he would always use work as an excuse. Oh, I'm working this weekend, or I've got a night shift, or there's an important case. So my son would literally not know. He would stand outside the door like, is daddy coming or not? And there was always that disappointment of he would just not show up, So I think routine is really important for kids as well, to have that consistency of, no, he's not just going to pop in whenever. There's certain days and times when you spend time with your dad.
Yeah.
Would you prefer that? So looking at, obviously your two situations are very different. You've had someone and you've left, and you've never had that person there. Which one's better?
Well, I think let's talk about the positives. Okay, let's talk a bit about the positives, right? Because I think there's a lot of great things. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I've created a dating app because I want to find someone, and I would love to settle. I'd love to have more children. I'd love to have, be with someone who's a single parent, and we create a blended family with his kids. My son's at an age now where he's desperate for a sibling. He's like, I really want a sister or a brother. We might have to settle for a pet, something to keep him company. But I think it's important for them to have that interaction. Whereas I feel like I'm always the mum, the friend, the parent, the entertainer.
Yeah.
And that takes a toll on you, right? Because you also have to work, and you've got to worry about, paying bills, and there's so much going on. So I think, I forgot my train of thought there. What was I talking about? I forgot my train of thought.
Oh, I had it a minute ago.
Is this the problem of being a single parent?
Yeah,
no,
memory loss. No, I think I'm perimenopausal.
Of the situation.
Yeah, so the positives I think are because
we're
I've
lacking in them, aren't we?
Yeah, oh my god, because I've had those years of being with someone and then not being with someone as a parent. I just love, and maybe we do become a bit selfish, but I love that I don't have to watch football all the time, or I can watch my shows at any time of the day. Not having to worry about having a meal ready for him at the end of the day. I can eat whatever I want. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like one less person to worry about in the house, which sounds really mean, but it is true. And I think that's one of the kind of the guilty pleasures of being a single parent, is that you don't have to worry about that extra human.
Yes, yeah, I 100% agree. To James's question, I would lean towards that maybe I have the better experience because I've never had to pander to someone else. And when I was pregnant, someone asked me oh, you're not sad you're not going to be with a dad or in a relationship? And I was like, I've got one baby. I don't need two.
Exactly, yeah.
I don't need to be running around after a grown man that can't look after himself. So that is, yes, it can be lonely and it can be hard when you don't have someone to kind of step in when your child is acting up, or you need just reassurance or support and anything like that. But ultimately, if you are going to be more of a hindrance than a help, I'd rather do it myself. And I think that's a lot of women have that same sentiment, that you know what, I'll just do it myself because it'll actually get done right.
Yeah, and I think following your gut is also really important. Whereas I think with parenting, you get critiqued a lot for, oh no, you shouldn't do that, or you should do that. Even with other mums, they'd give you advice. It's not a one size fits all. I don't think all advice works for everyone. So in a way, I also enjoy not having someone critique everything I do with my son, or the way I'm parenting him, or the way that I'm raising him. And as they grow, they do start to ask you questions and talk about things that actually you kind of do need a bit of support on this.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I think I think it makes me a better parent being on my own. Actually.
Yeah.
Well, I've got a question regards dating. So you mentioned it earlier, Nevine, but have you mentioned, or during one of these dating stuff, have you said that you're a parent, you've got said child at said age, and you've been absolutely ghosted?
Probably not gotten as many requests or swipes.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say ghosted per se.
Okay.
But I haven't met anyone, and again, why I've created Playdate is there was no one that I actually had any success with, beyond the first date. It just wouldn't go anywhere. And I don't know if it's because I had a son and because I had an ex-partner, because it's not just a son, right? There's an ex-partner. There might be bad blood with that ex-partner. There might be other kids. There might be, family issues. The kid might be a teenager, going to become a teenager. What if the kid hates me? There's so many factors, not just about, I might be a great person or fit all of the criteria of being a great partner, but then they're worried about it's a lot to get into. It is a lot to get into. Even if I didn't have children, I probably would have thought twice. I have to really, really like the person if I'm willing to take on, because you are taking on more than one person, and knowing as a single parent how important kids are, yes, and as Aoife said, you will never be number one. You will always be number 2 or 3 or even 4.
Yeah.
And people have to be okay with that.
That's hard, isn't it, for a lot of people?
Unless they've got kids.
Unless they're already in that position, they understand
and
it.
I think
if someone was single and if I've got kids now, but if I didn't have children, I went onto a dating app and I met someone and she had some children or a child, like I said, the first thing that comes into my head is, where's the ex? What's going on there?
Exactly. Yeah. And why? And why have you split with the ex as well? What's
Whereas
going
actually, on there? You're quite good in that. You're like, well, he's never been there, so
Yeah.
I'm out. I've got to get out of jail card free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next question, or last question, I don't know how much time we've got, but have you ever, introduced your son, or has he met anyone that you felt, okay, this could be something, and I'd like to see how my son reacts to this person?
So not from a dating app. A couple of years ago, I was trying to initiate a relationship with someone that I'd been friends with. It didn't work out at all. Completely blew up in my face. But my son.
Are you still friends?
Not really, no.
Oh. Whoops.
Yeah, completely blew up. But my son had met him but never in a one-to-one situation. It was always, there was a large
setting.
group of us getting there. There was lots of other adults, other children, so they were familiar with them, but not like, this is who Mummy's interested in, or anything like that. Yeah, and I'm very, very strict on that, actually. Like, I'd almost want them to meet my parents before they meet my son, like get them vetted by Helen and James and get that, like,
stamp of approval.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. And I think the group setting is such a good idea, because it's kind of, it's not good for them to also see, lots of men come and go, because then it kind of affects their relationships when they grow older, like to kind of value serious relationships.
Yeah.
But yeah, group setting is always good. That's a good one. And how did he react to him?
Fine. It was just another one of the adults to play with. Like, yeah, it was nothing. It was nothing like not just coming to Mill Street and hanging out and, playing Jenga with Mario or, telling jokes with Tom or something. It was very, very easygoing and very gentle. And I think what I kind of gained from it afterwards was I actually think that the people that I try and date as well, especially if they don't have kids, are scared that I'm going to say, yeah, come into my life, now you're a dad. And I'm like, no, I've never asked you to be his dad. I've asked you to be his father. I'm asking you to be my partner, support me, and help me, and you will just be a positive role model for my son to look up to. I'm not asking you to do anything else other than that. And I think there's a lot of confusion then.
You're right.
Amongst the opposite person you're trying to date. Well, I'm going to say men.
Managing their expectations.
Yeah, and they don't ask. They don't ask the question. So how do you go, oh, by the way, I don't want you to be a dad. I just want you to be the relationship with me. And, things like that. I don't know. It's a difficult one to raise.
It is a difficult one.
Yeah.
It's scary. As someone in that situation.
It's intimidating.
It's really intimidating. I think because you'd automatically just think, well, you're gonna want, yes, that support system, but you are really down the line, you are gonna want him or her, to be not a parent, but
father figure, a role model,
a role model in some way, and that's really intimidating and scary. One question though, how long from when you were sort of seeing that guy did you sort of initiate that sort of group setting? Was it a few months? Was it a year?
Well, we were definitely friends first, so before it had gone to anything romantic or anything, he'd met him as friends.
Okay.
It was probably about 6 months. Yeah. But again, at that point, I wasn't aware of anything either. He was just a friend, so it was easy to bring my kid around and, like, play with people and catch up with people.
How long into a relationship would you initiate that meeting, Nevine? Would it be months, weeks, years?
I think it depends on the person, but I think months for sure. I'd say minimum 4 to 6 months. But again, you might meet someone and you click instantly and things get going really quick. Or, it really depends on the person and the connection you have with that person. And also their reaction to you having children, whether or not they have children or not. But I found, like, with Playdate, there's so many people out there, and we really struggled with widening up the community to people that can't have kids, physically can't have kids for medical reasons, or people that have issues and are unable to have children but love kids. So we have a lot of people on Playdate that don't have children, but they're actively seeking to be with someone who already has children, so in a way they can inherit those kids and be a parent figure because they love children but they just can't have them. So I really battled with this when we launched Playdate, because do you have to have children, or can we open it up to those? And I thought, let's open it up, because it's unfair, because there's a whole group of people that actually really want to become mothers or fathers, but they can't.
I hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's loads of mums that are there's loads of solo parents out there. So that a lot of mums they don't have partners. They never did have a serious long-term partner, but they're reaching that age where, okay, the time is ticking and they really want to have children, so they become solo parents. And that was also something we had to cater to as well, because there's not necessarily, you're not divorced or separated, or there's no trauma, there's no past relationship, but they've chosen to become single parents on their own. So there's loads of types of single parents. That's kind of the journey I've learned over the past 2 years. It's not just separated, divorced with kids. There's lots, like your experience, or people that have just decided to be parents without a partner. So it's a very inclusive community, and I think that's really important to not include everyone. Well, thank you very much, Aoife. I think that covers it for today. Thank you for your time.
No, thank you for having me again. It's been really fun.
Any advice you want to give to single parents who are thinking about dating again? What's your top tip?
I'm going to go with 2. One for the females: up your standards and stick to them. Do not
Love
digress. That. And one for the men is please go to therapy.
Love it.
We have all worked on ourselves to be better women, and now it's your turn.
Love it. Thanks, Aoife. Men, take note.